Now that you learned the tapping points in part one, we're ready to move on to the script that goes along with the tapping. Let's get into it. So the first step in tapping is to identify a problem. So we don't need to do interventions if we don't have a problem. So think of a problem that you want to address, step one. Then step two is to rate the intensity of the problem on a scale of 1 to 10. So maybe right now the problem feels kind of medium, so it's a 5 out of 10. And so you take note of that or even write it down. Then step three is a statement of self-acceptance. And I know that some kids and teenagers feel like this is silly, but it's really valuable. And sometimes we don't take enough time to validate our own feelings. So we do the statement of self-acceptance as we do the karate chop point right here. And so we might say something like, even though, and then name the problem, even though I'm struggling with, name the problem, I totally love and accept myself. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with that exact phrase, you can say something like, I'm an okay kid, or I'm okay, or I like myself. Now, step four is unpacking the problem. So this involves talking about how the problem feels and all the details surrounding the problem. You might talk about where in your body you feel the tension or the frustration. You might describe how it feels out loud. You might say why it makes you mad or upset. You might acknowledge the different aspects of it. And while you do these unpacking statements, you go through points 2 through 9. So the eyebrow point, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbone, under the arm, and then top of the head. And you just go through and you rotate through the points as you do your unpacking. Some people could call this venting. This is kind of just saying all the things you want to say, getting out the emotions that are troubling you. After we do unpacking for a while, sometimes the feeling of the problem might get a little bigger for a second because we're actually acknowledging it and seeing it in all its detail. But I promise it's going to get better. Stay tuned. Now, before we learn the final step of the tapping sequence, make sure you like this video and hit subscribe so you don't miss any valuable content about reducing your anxiety. So the final step is repacking. So once we've gotten all these feelings and ideas out, then it's time to package them up again. And so sometimes I call this reconciling or making reconciling statements. So perhaps you'll say things like, but I know that things are going to be okay in these ways, or I still like my brother even if he bothers me, or just some of those reconciling ideas that you might say to comfort yourself or encourage yourself related to the problem. So once again, as you're doing the repacking, you just go through tapping points 2 through 9. Eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone, under the arm, and top of the head. There's no right or wrong speed or intensity or way to do it. You can do it on the right side with the right hand. You can do it on the left side with the right hand. You can do it on the left side with the left hand. So many possibilities. They're all correct. So just move through the sequence of the tapping points. So some people ask, how long do we go through the unpacking and the repacking? And the answer is however long you'd like, however long it feels right. After you go through the cycles of the different tapping points and you've really felt like you have gone thoroughly over the problem and you feel heard even by yourself, then is the time to make the pivot and make the change when you feel ready. And then you can take as many cycles of the tapping as you need to repackage that feeling and to help settle yourself once again. Then the last thing to do at the tail end when you're all done tapping is to rate the problem's intensity again, and hopefully it's gone down. Now that you've watched part 1 and learned the tapping points, and part 2 to understand the fundamentals of kind of the script that goes along with tapping, you're ready for an example. So please watch part 3 of the tapping series to go through an example with me to really gain a full understanding of the process. I'll see you in the next video.